ora and welcome to the Tourism Chat Show. I'm Michelle and it's great to have you tuning back into another episode in our TRENZ Unpacked series. And today we've got an awesome guest lined up. You may know the name Craig Wilson, and he is one of the mentors for the TRENZ new exhibitor program. So you should have found out this week that you've been accepted into TRENZ, and that will be great news for all of you who are coming for the first time. And very soon you'll receive an email inviting you to participate in the TRENZ mentoring program. And this basically gives you all the advice and information that you need to maximize the opportunities that you may see at TRENZ, because we know that there's an investment in time and cost in attending TRENZ, and TIA are here to support you. They've got Craig on board. He's attended, I think he mentioned 20 TRENZ, so he certainly knows what he's talking about. And through this episode, he shares some of his tips on preparing your sales and marketing material, maximizing your TRENZ opportunities, and that's through the networking part of the event, as well as the more formal appointments. We talk about that most important post-TRENZ follow-up, and then just a little bit more information about the mentoring program. So if you are a new exhibitor, make sure you keep an eye out for that email. Make sure that you do sign up because it is worth it. It doesn't cost you anything. It's just a couple of hours of your time to sit and have a chat with Craig one-on-one and talk about some of the questions that you might have, and he can certainly help you get the most out of your TRENZ. So why wouldn't you do it? Anyhow, I'm going to leave you with Craig and myself having a nice little chat, and we will be back next week with another episode. We're quickly coming into Christmas, where we will be taking a bit of a break for a couple of weeks, but hey, we've already got next year's episodes, the first couple of episodes lined up for you, and it's looking great, and we're very excited about that. So yeah, enjoy this episode, everybody, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Ka kite. So today we welcome Craig Wilson to the show. Kia ora, Craig.
Kia ora, Michelle. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you here, and it's been a long time since we've had a chat. So tell me a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Very good question. I am enjoying some strategic work with a number of tourism businesses as well as regions and destination management planning, as well as doing some work in quality assurance across the Great Rides of New Zealand. So enjoying getting out on a bike as well as working on strategy.
Fabulous. It's nice to be able to combine your passions with work, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Awesome. And today we're here to talk about the mentoring program that TIA offers new TRENZ exhibitors, and you are one of the mentors. How did you get involved in that program?
I think the answer is by being old, and having been to TRENZ, I think 20 something times or nearly, not as many times as you though, Michelle, but yeah, I think the answer is I'd done a little bit of training with TIA about 15 years ago and then 10 years ago. And then they said, look, could you do some mentoring as well and carry on this messaging for those people that are new to TRENZ, because it's really relevant, and they can ask you questions rather than perhaps standardized training. They can actually say, well, look, this is the area that we would need some specific help. So the mentoring just made a lot of sense to say, well, look, I can talk broadly about what's important and then get into specifics with each company around what they would like to do a deep dive into, basically.
Awesome. And what common mistakes do you see exhibitors make when they're preparing their sales and marketing materials for TRENZ?
I think that there's two broad mistakes, but they're not mistakes. It's just that they haven't been to TRENZ before. One is to be overwhelmed and try and do a lot before going to TRENZ, and feeling really burdened about it at a time of year that we're quite busy as well.
Yes.
And to try and pare it back to say, well, look, let's just focus on exactly what your buyers are going to want or need at TRENZ, and let's not in our first year over engineer some of these things and keep it a little bit simple. So there's the first thing, is to keep it simple and really focus on what will deliver value at the event. And the second thing is perhaps not being that clear around what their objectives are and
Mm,
saying, what does success look like? You know, we finish at Trends, we're having a chat in June, and you go, wow, this is amazing. I've got 20 new contacts. I've been emailing them, and 10 of them have come back to me with requests for more information. That's what success feels like to me.
mhm.
So let's put a number there around how many people are going to start communicating with us post
Mm.
Trends.
Yeah. And one of the big things that we talk about in the industry is pricing. And obviously, going to trends, you need to be export ready and international trade ready. Can you explain how trade pricing should align with your retail pricing and why this is important for new exhibitors?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a need for firstly being really clear around when you're going to change your prices. So
Mhm.
agree that you've got one price list and there's going to be a set of discounts that work off your rack rate, and it might all change on the 1st of November each year or the 1st of October each year, whatever the date is. But an annual review at least would be really useful. And then we need some relativities between that 100% rack rate price and an 80% at least wholesale net so that there's a 20% commission that trade can work with.
Mhm.
But a lot of businesses are really glad to hear that they don't have to have a 20% commission or an 80% wholesale price for all of their product. It's
Mm.
those products that they're wanting to release to trade. And often those products that trade want are a higher value add product anyway,
Mm.
that are more fully inclusive of things that the trade don't then need to worry about booking smaller components,
Yeah.
i.e., shuttling of people from the airport to accommodation.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point, actually. And I mean, trends can be a little bit overwhelming for newbies. So, how do you help them make the most out of both the formal meetings and appointments that they have, but also those really important informal chats and networking sessions that we have throughout the week?
No, I think one of the things I love sharing with new exhibitors is just how much fun it is to meet
Mm,
so many wonderful people at Trends. And the focus is always on getting the appointments and filling the appointment streams. And those formal appointments are really, really valuable. There's no question about it. But often, I've just said to new exhibitors, often I've come back from Trends and I've got 80 business cards in the old days. We're not doing that now, but
yeah.
there might have been 45 formal appointments, but there were 35 really valuable chance meetings over a coffee or lunch
Mm,
or a drink at the end of the day where you
mhm,
come back and go, I had a great conversation with these people as well. So it's great coming away knowing that the informal is nearly as valuable as the formal in terms of being able to meet great people and have a good conversation with them.
mm.
The question then is, how do you remember it all?
Yeah.
And what conversation did you have with each of them? So it's really important at the end of each day to make some notes about the things that you spoke about, the things
Yes.
that people are interested in, and the follow-up that you need to do.
Yeah, really good point because I'm a little bit hopeless like that. And so I've always made that a thing that I do when I get home at the end of the night and you go, right, this is this person, this is what I spoke to them about. And it just helps you because by the end of the week, you think you've had really memorable conversations. But once you've had those 40, 50, 60, 80 conversations, you literally start to, it's all a bit of a blur as to who you spoke
Yeah.
to about
Yeah.
what. So,
Exactly, yeah, and it's so stressful if you haven't noted something down. So yeah,
yes.
if you go, that was a really important conversation, but I can't now remember what it was about because it was drowned out by the other 79 conversations. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, or if you just send a generic follow-up email and that person's like, hang on, they told me they were going to send me this, and talk to me about this and share this with me. They've just sent me
Yeah,
this.
yeah, it's not a great start to what should
No.
be a pretty individual relationship.
Yeah. And one of the other things that I think sometimes gets overlooked is the value of networking, not just with buyers, but the other sellers that are at the show. So, do you talk a little bit about that with your newbies as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's, to me, going to Trends is a huge injection of pride around being a New Zealand tourism business. And the two opportunities really are broadly, let's just rub shoulders with great operators and learn how they're doing things. and see what best practice looks like with some of the work that they're doing at Trends and some of the new products that are launched at Trends each
Mm.
year. So there's a lot of learning, but then the networking around, hey, there's potential for us to work together actually. We could share some marketing cost, or we could do a product together, or
Mm.
we could just simply compare notes each year around what's happening for us. We're in two islands or at
Yep.
either ends of the country. We're not competing. Why don't we just talk to each other about what it's like and who's hot and who's not in terms of business growth?
Yeah, yep, yep. No, that's
Mm.
really important, I think. And what tips do you have for people to build meaningful relationships at the event? And that's going beyond just pitching products and experiences to them.
I think that the number one focus for most new exhibitors is that they need to be thinking 3 years, not 1 year at Trends. It's not a one-hit wonder.
Yep.
So, if they can indicate to buyers, yeah, we're here for a 3 year run minimum, and we're really keen to get to know you over those 3 years and deal with you. So, exhibiting to everybody that you're there for the long haul, not just for this year, is a
Yep.
great start so that they're feeling comfortable with that and knowing that you're going to be around and seriously investing with trade and wanting to partner with them is a great initial conversation, and then carrying on from there around, well, what would you like from us and how can we deliver that for you, and how often would you like to hear from us, and really making the communications really relevant to them around what
Mm.
their needs are, rather than I'm going to send an updated price list every year, which is
Yep.
not personalized at all.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that kind of touches on my next question is how can businesses ensure that they stand out to buyers after the event? I mean, we talk about the importance of follow up, but is there some secret sauce in there in terms of getting cut through? Because there's going to be 300 exhibitors contacting those buyers as well.
Yeah, look, I think referring back to that initial conversation, it was great to meet you at, or bump into you here,
Mm.
and remind them of what that was, because they're in exactly the same boat as us,
Mm.
coming away with so many contacts and
Yep.
conversations. So, yeah, I think that personalized communication is critical for a start, but then making everything available and just being as easy as possible to work with, to say, well, look, we've got all of this information. We're not going to burden you with it, but it's all here. All you need to do is click on these three links and you'll get
Mhm.
through to these three pieces of information.
Yep.
So to me, it's about creating a path of least resistance, to say, we are so easy to work with. All you need to do is ask, and everything you need is here.
Yep.
And rather than trying to, here's an email with 59 attachments, good luck getting it into your inbox to start with. I think it's just, again, just saying that we are here to help the whole time, but we're also really well organized in the way that we present information back to you, as well as we're personalizing each of those emails that we
Yeah,
send.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, nice. And so, how do exhibitors sign up for the mentoring program at Trends?
It's really simple. There's an email that will be sent out from TIA that
Hmm.
says this is a program that's available to you and it's free. So it's
Hmm.
included with their initial involvement, and it's only available to first-time exhibitors.
Right. Yep.
And then I'll send a follow-up email to those exhibitors that are new, and they just need to respond to that email and say, could we please set up a time, and we'll do a Zoom call or a phone call. And we might split it into two or three phone calls, depending
Hmm.
on what the level of need might be, or the work that they're wanting to do. And we might talk about pre-trends, during trends, and
Yep.
post-trends as a very logical split of three phone calls
Yeah.
or
Right.
three Zoom calls.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, so
Awesome.
that's how it rolls.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So, when approximately do you do that? So, when this episode goes out, everybody will have just found out if they've been accepted to attend Trends. So, when would you start the mentoring program typically?
It starts really early on in January. It's just that most people are so busy that they haven't got time to read all of those emails, and they'll
Yeah,
get to
sure.
it towards the end of the peak. So, yeah, I think the answer is as soon as the email goes out, the mentoring is available. So, What tends to happen is that there'll be a few people at the start and then a lot of people at the end or towards as we get closer to the event when people have got a little bit of headspace after their very busy
Yes.
peak season. So the answer is try and get in a little bit earlier so that if there is some work that needs to be done and can be done a little bit more gradually rather than under a lot of stress and deadline pressure at
Yes.
the month out, it's good to have two conversations. I think that's the best thing to say is we don't need to try and do everything in one call.
Mm-hmm.
We can split it and say, well, what are the things that you could work on over 3 months, and
Mm-hmm.
then let's have another conversation a month out.
Yeah, yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds good. And I mean, you obviously keep in touch with some of these businesses. Have you had some good success stories after their first time at Trends?
Oh, yeah, we've had, to me, it's the heartwarming stories that people go, wow, I just loved it. We met some amazing people and we got way more than we thought we would get because we
Mm,
went there, we were well organized, and yeah, we invested appropriately. So I
mm,
think the success stories are more likely to be around just being really confident in the fact that they've got everything they need and they're ready to go when they're there. And sometimes that might be the material that they need to develop pre-trends, and they were very proud of it
mm.
and confident in their ability to sell off that.
Yeah.
Other times it might be that they were so popular that we agreed that they probably need to have another one or two delegates with them to
Wow.
actually handle the demand that is
Yeah.
likely to be placed upon them. And they're really glad to have had an extra pair of arms and legs there so that they don't burn their voice out by the end of day three, you know?
Yes, which is usually me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Sometimes self-inflicted though.
yeah, yeah, that happens.
Yeah. So if you could give one piece of advice to a new exhibitor preparing for Trends, what would it be?
Be really clear about what you'd like to achieve and combine that with enjoying your engagement with the event and with the trade,
Mm.
knowing that it's going to be long term.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that's the end of my questions. So thank you for joining me, Craig.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of new exhibitors. We've sort of focused on those new exhibitors a little bit in this series to date. We had Thomas Orr from Hellyseeker, who was a first-time exhibitor last year, and he took a shared stand, and then he came back on to basically say that he had so much success that he's going back next year on a full stand. So great, great success stories in there from Newbies, and it's always great. We know that buyers love to come down and see new products and meet new people and experience new things while they're here. So it's a great program that TIA are pulling together, and they're very lucky to have you on the other end of the line helping them get prepared for Trends. So thanks for coming on and sharing your experience.
Well, look, it's wonderful. Thank you very much for having me here and looking forward to seeing you at Trends next year.
Absolutely. We'll see
Yeah.
you then. And all the best for your upcoming wedding as well. So
Thank you very
congratulations.
much. Yes. It'll be my first Trends as a married man.
Excellent. We'll see you there. Ka
Yeah,
kite.
okay. Thanks, Michelle.